So that definitely might be very interesting right now for like more society right now to like feel like that part of like that the person that was done that part of could be candidate like like people like taking with like the choice of like student or like I'm definitely for that strategy of New York that topic way and I'm looking for that with the scenario being like I'm looking at good New York or live without the trade later getting into like the place of like the student and like New York and like that part of the candidate will be making the state for the like to be building and we also only planning on like taking so we're taking over that boat that will be that will be showing up for like the organ transportation and all that. That would be nothing else planned. So that's to take over that boat and that way for like more that way get like being candidate onto that boat and so like more to that drive the boat and that get like that part of the game candidate that be like the main city. And that way let's say it was like might be definitely any other plan was definitely in the possibility. But like on the other hand that more describe with me or especially in my book and some for to of the class but like in book scenarios that I'm looking at that like as like Neo and like the pharmaceutical candidate will be that escaping from like the game building and will be that support like the game island trying to like with like Neo trying to like at least get like the pharmaceutical candidate to like the boss in like that game island like I'm still before right before even before reaching the port like just like them all they are running into example and take such like the scenario that I'm so like I'm that before that happens like I'm saying that Python example totally like figuring out about like the boardman being like Captain Bob like the boardman being that traitor and I told them students and that way like example figuring this out by that and like example and team like totally threatening to eliminate that boardman and that they're threatening to like take that to like the American and that way like I'm looking at them making it to like the Studio Island and like then I'm looking like yeah, and definitely I'm looking like Jumbo that telling that thing to like no eliminate like the board and enough to like reaching it to game island to like going to like or like them tying up like the road map on to like the road that and reach it on finally reaching like to game island like now so like as like Jumbo and things would be on the way towards like as they will be the project for like the Squid building and like they found their way like into the definitely sense of they are running into that's the group of like more and then that's how to be back there. So like at that point I'm referring like definitely jump out at that point of the coding feeling out of like basically so that uh to not eliminate those ways to the end of the but like to that capture them and basically to interrogate them and to get all those in-depth information as to like how to make that sort of integration into like the system thing. And as for like all that information, for example, also in the planning on like getting that the current exact situation within like system thing, all that for example, using like these things which we totally think that like really all that information would be like extremely precious and valuable to that make that ultimate integration to like the system building will be the line jump over the thing but like I'm looking that even right before like so like at that point I'm running to like that compass between candidate and your like at that point not even like in depth to game to work out with like at that point like I'm so straight away telling uh team members to like hold but like I'm looking like even as like John Hope is saying it like I'm looking like this is too late because like as right as like John Hope is saying it like one among the team I'm looking like all the developer before John be able to like stop that will reflect it now that I'm looking so like that way that that way that one team member in that jungle team that will think the weapon and that attack totally landed on like the part of football candidate and was leave as a at that point like that for football candidate in like those guys of like what just the game weapon at that point that getting eliminated with like the scenarios that and they feel like jumping on the microphone like at that point saying cold fire like something that New York getting eliminated by the just like the scenario that I'm so like at that point like New York was totally shocked and they will already extremely angry like jump off and their pain and at that point I was like the moment like that this is an accuracy manner like that Thomas Cooking candidate will be getting eliminated by Jumbo Street like scenario that I'm going to at that point just like really shouting and like screaming and getting extremely enraged and straight away sticking up weapon and that's trying to take out like the end of like Jumbo and pain to benefit both of factors will be along the lines of the like New York totally active in like an extremely enraged manner like that way and New York totally using weapon and trying to eliminate all of them. So like I'm definitely still I then click on the example quickly managing to like stop your like the scenario that I'm in. So like I'm looking still as like the struggle totally happening at that point with like example like if you're struggling to like stop your but like your with only you do not using her something like because in that club as well at that point or they can do them for and like then for it stopping you at that point. It's like the uncontrollable neurons at that point is like looking at like the scenario that I'm looking at. So like then I'm looking like that with the extreme enraged at like a jump or like still I'm looking at then like and at that point I'm looking even jump as well would be like totally confused as to that basically even if it was like at that point comes at that point of view like jump would obviously the person who for element as just could be more yeah like since like what as well would be again for like from Jan's point of view Jan would be like only show as for like still due to the elimination of black and still for such an extreme reaction from that more that but definitely confusing Jan would be totally feeling that there will be more to that so like in Jan like commonly all sounds basically example, like when writing with like Neo, so like I'm looking at initially Neo would explain this in brief and with like example, but like in the end, that Neo finally calm down and really everything, all the things within like this could be embedded, all the current happenings within like this game building and everything. And then I'm looking through that interaction eventually something like Jumbo actually that from that interaction Jumbo will be totally feeling strongly that the connect would be put in person become so that Jumbo at that point will be keeping that up with trust in like and at that point I'm looking at that Jumbo totally like seeking like the help of like for like jumping things like integration into the business into the quick put an influence with it. And at that point like totally agree. But like I'm looking like a bunch of like jumbo team members like I'm looking to be totally against like trusting so to say just like the scenario. Get like jumbo would be totally putting that up with trust on and like together at that point. And at that point with like totally having lost that part of putting the elevators like narrows it. So like at that point, just only shooting up like she has absolutely nothing to lose. And that all at that point, will be coming down to like the mindset as it so that basically it wasn't that Jumbo and in the film, but like it was like the studio thing. That's the reason for that all this happening would be along the line. At that point, you should oversee so that as well certainly like starting to like help Jumbo out and that could lead to like destroy like, the energy of the studio. So that a few that way you also be cleaning up the victim or into letting more the second more help like and thing being able to like execute such characters some inspiration into that specific pregnant action to that is to be able to impact like the scenario that I'm for the and my community. Still sitting in my book in the generation for like that integration happening after like the fourth season or and before like the fifth season. The like it's either happening right before like the fifth season or like I'm looking that in the right and then along with that or in the season building that attack happening maybe right has like first season will be only beginning. So it's like the these are like the competition that is on the topic and like scenarios that I'm working there with information myself and also also, the this is my important theory infection that like the post again has for that the end going like agreeing to team up around front of the announced to that so the team up with him. This only for like the end guy to that see into the friction and steal away his last weapon. And that way so that like the end guy will be totally feeling as that along the lines of like the two weapon at that through such a manner like the end guy will be having a greater of a chance of being able to that ensure the protection of that chance will be along the line the independent guy was putting and it might be like it's already for like the independent guy 11 and first like team up with like my procedure so that certainly in that betrayal or that the independent guy totally happening out today and like the independent guy like sadly like for that absolute strength like and that the independent guy sadly injured Thanos' friend and steal him away and running away with his black weapon, just like with the Naruto and with the sun. And definitely I'm going to bring that going to be the indifferent that especially for that one thing that running into that room where like especially with like right now with like that mother figure candidate as well as like Janhi as well as like chosen all together under them all fighting the secret room without way to the end let them together hiding in that secret room and now the friend won the game that similar kind of like situation as like the as it was back during the Nimbus game happening once again with like the important guy injury finding that example is like the one called the scenario that I different for like sort of the scenario that I'm describing it for like the individual guy who be walking around searching for junkie while the different like the individual guy who missing that secret roles were lacking. Janki as well as lacking. Some other student candidate as well as so will be hiring it. So like at that point, Janki totally falling out, totally falling out. That change between guys at that point. So like at that point, self choosing as well as some other student candidate, which is totally shocked and that will be totally shocked as to like what Janki is doing and straight away like then different guy that point opening the door. And I'm so different at that point, the then different guy seeing that Janki as well as like surgeon as well as like some of the candidates straight away like at that point says like different guys straight away targeting like some other student candidates like scenario that I'm looking for like as like different guy who is straight away trying to like eliminate that student candidate like I'm looking from that at that point is like chosen definitely would be literally getting extremely triggered because like the moment independent guy could even be entered into that process like the scenario that I'm looking for like children will only having or flashback kind of thing happening with that since like even during that young miss elimination as well. Uh, children's like process from young miss like elimination as well like the purpose of like the independent guy that and that coupled with like at that point sort of remember the members that the independent guy trying to eliminate that for another civilian and that's when the children will be active and like children is stopping that independent guy. So like what was happening between like children and like the independent guy for this borderline fight happening between Kyoto and like when you can guide and so when you do like only or for like the independent guy. So like at that point I'm looking that the that's what mother sibling candidate could be like in the corner of that room like watching in that absolute shock absolute like fighting going on as Jackie is standing right next to that mother sibling candidate. So like I'm looking the betrayal from Jackie once again happening with like Jackie at that point totally like another thing that fight between children and when you guy another thing that children totally could be the scenario was was waiting only for the different guy and like attacking and like the independent guy the like weapon like falling to the corner of that rope. So like at that point I'm looking like Janki the trial happening and Janki is also pushing that mother speaking candidate towards like the independent at that point like scenario that being such an extreme shock for like story. So totally so like that mother speaking candidate like for right in front of left and beacon light and let them beacon light eliminated. It's like the eventual scenario that I'm looking for like animation theory and version. At that point, itself, I'm looking that Junkie is probably running out of that room along with 5 in the hands of the beacon light. It's like the scenario that I'm looking for. Because of that way that I'm looking and that way of like the elimination of like multiple candidate and Bitcoin guys like would have survived since like that way like the Bitcoin guy would have survived somehow like the next path for like the Bitcoin guy would be to like ensure like that Junkie makes it to that like to distributing like the Bitcoin guy being part of like the red sea has found like so this that has found Junkie using like the blocking so like ensuring that Junkie at that point makes it to it would be like the highest priority for like the Bitcoin guy because we know going to the end so definitely that way that junkie will up into doing like that running out of that straight away. It's like the scenario that I'm doing. So even at that point we just operate sometimes and stuff and like uh and like that mother freaking candidate that in top eliminate state. So like I'm looking like even at that point self with an extreme generation coming out of that junkie and like the into doing that. It's like the scenario that I'm looking for the so like in the like at that point, so like maybe children with that absolute period that running after like the indigo guy and jumping and like children catching up to like the indigo guy and like children get attacking like the indigo guy and all this happening in between like the game like the scenario that I'm looking for. So like at that point I'm looking at maybe Yanti like totally doing something that like might cause like the indigo guy to that or for children that looking after that in that way. Yanti and like the indigo guy probably running away yeah, from like so at that point we lab so they get upset by whatever that just we would discuss you say that attack that just would have done that one. So like I'm looking at in this gap of like a situation that I'm looking at the in between that and just taking advantage of this to that of the hide in one of like to hide and fear from like children of the so like at that point, if I come to the point that the MgCon guy as well as like that we managing to like find another hidden group is like the scenario better and then fighting them while totally being afraid of like chosen finding them and trying to like eliminate them. It's like the scenario is better. So definitely during this time like and I'm looking like after that like chosen just really looking for like the MgCoin and generally but like chosen not being able to find them like the scenario is better. So you know being absolutely frustrated like the scenario that I'm looking at. Like chosen will be looking around all throughout like the game area. And I'm during that time, like a bunch of like red team members like targeting children and trying to like eliminate children, but like due to that absolute rage and frustrations, like children that would be in like an enraged state and like children that fighting them all off and then still survive it with like the scenario that I'm looking for. So like I'm looking that so like this would be happening like the children would be at like another location within that same area. So that during this time like while children be fighting off like the other thing in the like during that while children will be in such a inspired state like I'm looking that or like the indigo that as well as junkie to that loop from that Toronto and at that point like when doing that and junkie would be like totally good enough to be really trying to like find that using that the key that which is the next junkie to like find that best exit for and I'm looking for that eventually junkie and like when they can get find it and being able to like open that exit for so like they would be totally happy and that they will be feeling happy that they have survived like the first year. At that point, it's come to the fact junkie to be substituting that at that point I'm looking for like junkie to be like the independent style that pushing junkie into that exit. So and that's like when the guy as well will be about to leave that exit that exit or run to the next when the being caught by that front of like like the scenario that is. So at that point we'll be trying to like eliminate that into the guy that actually reach. And another thing for me was that like injuring like the improvement that and like I'm from that junkie trying to like stop him and for like also injuring junkie as well like the scenario like I'm or like I'm going by this would be happening like junkie from like the exit after punching like the location like junkie will be seeing fight happening and junkie will be like trying to help that and that but like I'm like even by that like injured by like the front of panel like then people like shouting out towards that junkie to go to that knock that he will deal this by himself that basically to not come back and would along the line you can die would be starting out like that as like then you can die would be taking in more and more injury from like that front of Thanos and as like that front of Thanos will be about to like eliminate like and going die and that very last second is when about to come back so totally that that might be scenario happening for like that front of Thanos with like and well as like then you can die with like ninja totally extremely single ninja totally eliminated like that front of Thanos is like the scenario side of it and only to that actor like so that independent guy managing to like make it to the exit like getting up and like slowly will be walking towards like the exit so that at that point I'm looking for a new even and at that point it's comfortable like with like Minsu eliminating like the front of the back plan on the front straight away like this game of like eliminating Minsu as I saw with like this not so that at that point it's comfortable that independent guy that basically like with that all that injury like things like trying to like still trying to like trying to like make it towards like the exit but like at that point, still like children will be shouting at like the independent guy, and he'll be running towards like the independent guy, like the scenario like the independent guy, like making it to like the exit and like that way, making it with that making it to, along with like junkie and meeting up with the junkie like scenario that I'm doing. So like at that point, still like children like and then very to still do the Indian race and children still attacking like the bad independent guy, and that's children would be badly attacking like the independent guy at that point. I'm looking like junkie totally that that holding on to that children to that and they do junkie that totally with that with fearfully like telling sorry to that children and pleading and begging to that children to like spare to spare the way around and that children would be begging junkie would be begging to the children at that point. It's like the scenario and children at that point will be still will be having that absolute rage, will be looking at like junkie for that absolute rage and like I'm looking at that children at that point also thinking along the lines of still like basically that junkie is like urgent and all that and then and maybe children that at that point looking at junkie and like basically children finally calming down and basically that even though children will experience rage like children that way at that point stopping going back on that junkie and taking just walking away from the exit back to like the beginning and like just like scenario that I'm basically like and make it very important. And I'm looking like during this time like I'm looking like as like the time would be and by this time like the countdown like the time limit would be almost about to be over. The time for the clock signal would be almost about to be over. So like I'm looking during this time I'm definitely putting like that from the game candidate like even as like the time would be about to be over and looking like some good game candidate would be still not be able to that with that absolute goodness with intentions still as like the time would be almost about to go and putting the scenario being like the some game candidate still not being able to that himself to eliminate another game candidate in any of the could be being able to that scenario. So like the some game candidate with that absolute fear would be that falling out, and access percent tension would be falling out, just like falling out positive, like not thinking at it like scenario that I need to so like that some thinking candidate like would be often looking at the time and like some thinking candidate would be seeing that like time is about to be over. So like I'm looking that only causing that uh like given such an obvious kind of feeling for like for some thinking candidate that like is definitely not going to make it, and they believe that way like the sun should be candidate like in tears like falling out repeatedly and frantically and desperately searching for his like another seeking candidates and falling out for others. And other different like sun seeking candidates finding a bunch of student doors and like opening it up and like looking at like a bunch of like secret stores, and I was looking like hidden rooms within like the area, and I was looking like in some of those hidden secret doors like secret room like I'm looking like a bunch of place candidates like something candidates like eliminated and lying on the floor. And like it was on the and like the something candidate would be shocking thing, and like some different like that way his scope that will be diminishing more and more. And then was like really him opening one of that doors and undergoing his answers and starting to like crumble and shake with that absolute fear and basically like of like the worst possible scenario. So like and that actually like the something candidate like actually opening one of the secret room and like realizing that like this was fear that became a reality with like him saying that another civilian candidate eliminated and like on the floor in that room is that going to scenario that I'm looking at. And the other thing probably seeing that and probably screaming with that absolute shock and sadness, and I'm looking that person into that they go crazy at that point with that scenario that I'm looking. And at that point I'm looking like one of like the I'm looking at that point for two possibilities. Either the one's would be candidate will be going crazy at that point. And I think at that point that would be like getting absolutely enraged with like the game and everything that like him probably at that point like him probably going crazy and probably at that point swimming to like the one randomly attack and like the civilian at like the red team members at like the blue team members that would be like running through that area trying to like complete the game at like time would be almost about over. So like I'm like, at that point like for something again and then like only going crazy and in like only randomly swimming with that weapon had like the remaining shooting candidate and that resulting in like a bunch of like shooting candidates in from like the red team instead of like the blue team getting eliminated by that some shooting candidate and like straight away uh like and that will like due to like consulting candidate at that point eliminating that shooting candidate in like the right thing like able to like straight away like the shooting was eliminating the shooting was showing up and eliminating like some shooting candidate. That's like one possible scenario that I would point. Or like the other possible scenarios that I would put about for like why like consulting candidate in that shock of like losing that mother like would be totally those different totally go crazy. And all is happening within that one of like such an group, and at that point has to go crazy like one of like the student candidate from like the team at that point, like trying to like escape from a red team member, from a chasing a red team member, and that blue student candidate like was entering into that room at that point, where like the some student candidate was going crazy, and like, at that point, like some student candidate like only swimming through that with that absolute crazy kind of like state, like simply at that point, like shouting out and like swinging with like weapon at like the at like that member of like the blue team would have entered into that role, and that that resulting in like that blue team member Squid candidate like getting eliminated at that point. And at that point, that comes to the point that that may begin another stop for like some Squid candidate who until that point might have definitely not been able to like bring himself to like eliminate, not even where that is not a single Squid candidate at that point of like the scenario that was so like that way the left team so crazy and actually eliminating a Squid candidate, and that again ended up definitely cutting from being from like just losing like with another level. So like in that act of him saying that like I'm giving him another stop, and then within that thing at that point realizing what he has done and that him totally putting down his like that and usually screaming again this like the scenario that in sitting right there and not even move for like the rest of like the time until that game to be getting over this like the scenario that so this is like the possibility that I'm different for which like perfect scenario that something candidate even surviving like the fox game as well through such an connect on the going to be like one of these two possibilities. You definitely might be very interesting, right? Also, my book is very interesting as well, like data skills, like the flip and data as like the game begin to set down the looking at table. So it will find again just really that because like I'm bring that here and like that whole trembling and shaking like of that out of fear of that table on the thing definitely once again happening during that total rebellion that they had that thing that's happening even right now in that portfolio as well as like they will be like probably shaking and trembling to that absolute fear while searching for like the critical thing for like it's a job. So like I'm gonna they will be finding them really something for like it's a job and like I'm gonna connect while they will be doing the I'm gonna like eventually like they will hearing like the sounds of like red team member like eliminating blue team member from for instance like the scenario that I'm gonna so like at that point that they will like get even more shocked and scared and therefore at that point that would be straight away quitting like moving away from like searching for looking for like an exit or and they going to the straight away like running and looking for like a hidden secret home. So like I'm looking that they got that point just deciding like hide in somewhere. So instead of looking at patient or like scenario that I'm looking so like that way like I'm looking like they hope totally uh they will totally that way find it at that point managing to like find a secret in a room like the scenario that I'm looking and I'm living in that room doing that they hold all like that while they hold the left constantly like throughout like the game will be hearing like sounds of like they will be team members eliminating blue team members and would be sounds of like the for instance that the role doesn't say that like blue team members can't eliminate red team members and because like when the those team members eliminating red team members as well. It's also like I would say so like while all the streams of that all elimination again happening and so the take hope would be that front and shaking that bring that up to fear. And that secret room with that up to fear like so scenario that I would correct and time was just running out and they hope won't be able to that you are consuming they hope to like the point where like they hope that you won't be able to like bring themselves to like search for like the exit or again it's like the scenario that so like I'm going to stand like a bunch of that student candidates from like the building as well as like from the terrorist team passing in front of like the secret room where like they hold and that they are as well will be being written at that point like and looking from like eventually as like time will be and then time will be almost about to run out and at that point I'm looking like they hope to be finally feeling relieved that's like basically as like time is about to run out like they hope to be finally feeling as of like so he has finally succeeded and would be surviving like the what the game would be along the lines they would be hopefully to and at that point is when I'm as time would be about to run out would be when like I'm looking at Changon until that point it will explicitly only searching for Deho alone won't even bother about the game. So it will like probably leave something for label that because in Sanjion like I'm doing as like time will be almost about to be over. As like I'm doing like the scenario being like as 10 seconds along with your remaining and like they hope and that point is okay getting hopeful that like absolutely no one is going to find it in that room anymore and basically that who's going to survive at at that point is when numbers are like Sanjion would be walking in front of that secret of what they hold it. So like they hold be like the but never need to be like that slit on like the top of like that door. So like like they hold to be that often looking out that slit like the scenario that I'm doing and so that they hold probably that there's like time only 10 seconds would be remaining that number on that table would be totally looking outside of like that through that slit again and they hope probably using that sound on passing by pushing that door. At that point, that date was like freezing and like shaking, and there was a reason for very great extent to like the scenario that I was doing. That the different like at that point, like Sanjo was hearing that like the scenario that I was doing. So Sanjo at that point, or they find it that secret home where like they hold the hiding and Sanjo opened that up, and I was on like Sanjo while holding the weapon like okay, slowly with that absolute speed of space and like that glare towards like they hold, with that absolute stare towards like they hold extremely afraid. They hope would be like walking towards like slowly walks on will be walking towards like they hope will be back to a corner at that point. It's like the scenario that so they will be like absolutely scared and like will be absolutely shaken with the fear as like someone will be walking towards and not towards like they hope at that point is like scenario that and Sanjon will be getting so close to like they hope. Yet like I'm bring like Sanjon not attacking they hope or like using like weapon against like they hope or anything. Sanjon just standing there with that up with scared at like they hope who will be back to a corner at that point and shaking and trembling at that point is like it's not that I'm looking. So like don't stay up at that point would be like totally and right would be like that under the reaching like the limit of what like Beto might be able to like handle at that point. That like I'm looking at Beto totally at that point maybe under the like to feel that absolute extreme fear of like looking like Beto. So at that point, something like that extreme fear of that Beto, everything in that his hands and his like feet and everything trembling and shaking to like the point of like maybe like the scenario being like the fear to the extreme reaching that extreme level as like the single seconds would be remaining and one while a single second will be remaining like a bit like sun standing right in front of Deho, staring at Deho. But like the weapon in Sangon and like but we are getting extreme to the point that like Deho getting getting eliminated due to like after attack. Maybe I'm going to at that point. It's like the scenario that I'm expecting, while that single 1 second will be remaining. And that way like I'm going to like at that point like civilian workers considering that as like usually Sangon having eliminated Deho like in the scenario that I'm going to that way like Deho getting eliminated and like Sangon surviving like the whole studio is like living to a scenario that I'm basically okay and my person to and also according to my super interesting during this time like like as like Sanjon will be entering that as a hidden room of where like they hold and will be walking towards like they hold and see Miss Care they hold while holding the weapon like during this time and like sorry next info would definitely be watching this exact camera with this like with having this like ice speed info as like the front man will be having this like ice speed while watching Sanjon with the weapon walking close towards like they hold where info will be like totally hoping for like Sanjon that way to like have to be used that weapon and eliminate the one that way like San for like Sanjon himself to like destroy Sanjon's like ideology, which like the sort of opposite of like Shinko's ideology. Shinko definitely is going to be extremely insecure about like and even feeling threatened by Sanjon's ideology that was thoroughly opposite like Shinko's ideology. It definitely might be a friction because like literally deep down, somewhere deep down within Shinko himself might know that like everything is true even while keeps on justifying and with like ideologies like deep down Wimpo himself might know that like what he's doing is like probably wrong and that what Sanjay was saying was like the truth. But like I'm thinking like that would be like something that Imbo would be like extremely insecure about to like accept would be absolutely clear that the process of being having to like accept that I'm looking like Imbo would be like desperate still holding on to like this like ideology and would be desperate to like prove that to himself that is like ideology is right by destroying Sanjay's ideology. So like while even allowed Sangyong to like enter in that second in the fourth students like even at that point of like just might have been like a definite intent of like info to eventually have trapped Sangyong into a game where like Sangyong himself would be getting forced to like this process so ideologies and that Sangyong eventually doing that would be that absolute validation that I think might be data separately speaking so that Info definitely not getting that validation that they can understand. So definitely I'm still seeing the micro for like the scenario being that Sanjon not at all using a black weapon and not at all attacking Beho, but like it's being that absolute scare of like Sanjon at like Beho at like that close range processing in like Beho. Totally usually that possibly unlimited heart attack if eliminated that in the scenarios that I was and that way once again that I'm different that the front man being like extremely frustrated is like the eventual scenario that I'm developing and my positive impression. So that in both already being extremely frustrated because like even at that point like in both standard ideologies will be still remaining protected even at that point and that will be like deeply frustrating in both and like could make people feel that is that like he still had failed and wasn't able to like destroy uh or crush that kind of like ideology will be along the line into this strongly feeling to that point. So in both that point will be only feeling defeated like the scenario that I'm looking and no will be getting extremely enraged at that point. It's also definitely my very and function right now. Okay, so like definitely my very function right for like that takes some like right now walking around like it's a pro to play with like for some followers like other people that would definitely be to have to like increase her own chance of like survival alone is definitely my considering. So like every time like the shaman movement and for followers will be like uh, running into a member from the SRS team with like the weapon. At that point, the Black Amber like the shaman was like quickly like grabbing one of them followers and pushing them towards like that other team like the Canary. And I'm looking that definitely I'm looking that the shaman one definitely not surviving that for still it's like the Canary that I'm so like I'm looking that now the shaman one as like she would be like because like from like the shaman woman's point of view, that she would be only feeling as a black lady that she has like four like she currently has like four followers like the shaman woman will be only feeling as a black lady that she has four chance that and like the 30 minutes as well as like four chances is what she has to until like for her to before which like she has to like find like the dog will be along the line like the shaman woman will be right not only uh, will be having will be her mindset right now. Definitely my very so definitely I'm looking at that each and every single time like that it will be a single each and every single time in like the journey of like the fake shaman movement in like the first year number each and every single time like like there will be running into only a single battery team member each and every single time and each and every single time like like shaman movement like they pushing one of the followers towards like each of those red team member that they will be encountered and they sleep that way like the shaman one by one as like time will be slowly running out like something like the shaman movement like basically pushing each and every single one of like followers into getting eliminated just like each and every single time like scenario that so like each and every single time like still even while one by one like the followers would be pushed by like the shaman movement towards like elimination towards like the incoming wrecking of the shaman movement at that point can like with that absolute serious face like I'm going like that page shaman like make it some sort of like a reason as for like why she did that and that way like her freaking like her followers and basically that way like I'm giving that and totally freaking like her followers into thinking that basically and that they won't be next that like the page shaman won't be doing the very same things to like spend next would be along the lines and bringing there and then totally blindly believing like the page shaman won't and that one is like the scenario that yeah like I'm gonna each and every single time like the shaman was making like the remaining followers with like some sort of like an excuse of like a reason. Just like a scenario, but still that fake shaman movement like that's a feeling like sitting the remaining follower until like I'm looking like the fake shaman movement I'm whispering like as like time will be almost about to run out like the fake shaman movement will be finally uh, like running to like but I'm going to protect the scenario to be like at like time will be about to run out like I'm whispering like the fake shaman movement like probably starting like Tuesday getting nervous and starting to slowly shake it like up and I'm looking like at that point like the scenario being like the fake shaman movement and they having a single follower left. So like I'm looking like during this time like I'm looking like one more family member will be that sure will be showing up and basically at that point like the patient woman like basically pushes that remaining follower aspect and basically as like the patient woman would be like separately but that what they are fitting in like at that point like the patient woman and that point separately searching for like the exit door as like time as well will be about to run out and I'm looking like the patient woman finding like the exit door and I'm looking like probably at that point we have really relieved at that point and like saying that like she has managed to like survive through her through her using and taking advantage of like her followers that she has finally made it to like surviving like the fourth skill game would be along the line like the Beksham at that point will be feeling at that point and I'm becoming slowly running towards like the open exit door at that point is like the scenario but like I'm doing right as we will be getting so close to like making it to crossing like the exit door I'm looking for like at that point is when I'm looking like one and the correct team member like only from behind that basically eliminating left the channel movement is left the final that I'm personally really looking and my particular impression. Okay, so like actually my particular impression right now is for chosen right now being total the approaching the black chosen as well as black just and acknowledge the candidate each having things of that shape triangle square as well as I'm definitely putting while chosen right now would be saying that like these three shapes will be for that there it's that's there is to like making it towards like the exit of in like the portfolio and certainly protect definitely that won't be like that situation that won't be the actual case certainly my personal impression. So my personal impression is that like since like the episode name itself is like episode title itself is called like starry night like and definitely star would be like the final shape it would be actually leading to like the actual truth exit of out of like the portfolio. It's like my good theory. So like I'm looking like remaining shades of like circle, triangle, as well as square. Like I'm looking like these three would be like these required to like open like the three initial doors. And I'm looking to say like the fourth and final door. I'm looking like not for the fourth and final door to be opened. I'm looking that that would be like what like the staff the requirement of like the staff be like for like the fourth door like I'm looking to be a staff shape we don't that might be able to like open like the fourth and final door to like the leading to like the actual exit and survive from like the passenger for like the building might be the case that we might look very definitely this might be also the reason for like the moment like they enter into like the portal game itself like the ceiling have like a lot of stuff on it like stuff drawn on it that will be too good this reason as well, because like stuff would be like that would be like the cash for like the actual proof cash for like the sports to get that like even for like the blue team members to like escape like the blue team members will be having like the biggest task of like they believe the people think like right now with like the red team members already having entered into like the hot game as well. Like right now like the biggest task for like the blue team in order to like if they take the path of not hiding and instead they trying like find like let's just know then like the biggest task for them might be for them so like the blue team members to like find which among them have like the extremely rare stuff is leading to like the actual final stop might be the case that my post variable. So that even while having like use of like the shape of like triangle as well as square as well as up still under the like the scenario in actuality might be like that even getting having all those three shapes would be pointless might be pointless without having like that final start shape key. So like the real task would be to like find which among technical team members have like that extremely rare start shape key and basically adapt to different like unlike like the three shapes of like triangle as well as like circle as well as like squares and different like the which would be like the majority of like the three shapes the majority of like the voting members will be having like a different like it will be only like the minority among like the voting members that will be having like the star shape key in the position definitely might be the case definitely might be the so like the real task for like the voting members if they take the path of like finding of having to like find like exit or like then like the real task would be for them to like find which among like the protein members will be having that task safety and then having to do that while simultaneously ensuring to like not get caught or like not run into any of like the rest team members. So it's also like this would be that ultimate proof task extreme difficult task for like the blue team members definitely might be the case definitely might consider it for right now. Okay, so that's definitely my considering question right now as for like Sanjay right now having already captured that data in the clip right now for like Sanjay definitely not even attacking data not even once definitely my consideration. It could be that lack of knowing that as they true as for like why that data had betrayed that during that the rebellion. This lack of like knowing the like absolute truth as like why they did it. That that might be the reason for like the 16 race to things like something towards like Bible right now. Definitely might for that having been happening since like the failure of the rebellion. Definitely might consider everything. So like might have just not a thought about like even though definitely like Sangwon might have since we had like that race towards like they hope uh as like that one thing they got like the fact of resulting and that had resulted in that Sangwon's like just from young days like elimination and everything. Still happens right now in the person like it's really what the differently frustrating and disturbing Sangwon and enraging Sangwon. So that from within would be that absolute lack of like not knowing that truth as to like why they go with right now. It's definitely my good story. So I'm definitely putting right now that like Sangwon is totally unaware of like that issue of like they would extreme fear that like cause like they would to that end up not being able to like make it with like the ammo. So like Sangwon won't be aware of that. Even to like the person definitely my person very much. So definitely from Sanjay's point of view, all Sanjay will be saying that basically look like since like they would is like have told them that it as well as you can like jump into this like an ex-marine like and so it will be extremely confusing for like Sanjay. And Sanjay won't be like totally might have definitely not realized that definitely upon the magic rendition, some definitely something like that. Like marine story of like they has might have definitely been alive. So like Sanjong might have still not realized that might have not considered like the possibility of that totally being alive and like the possibility of that. They having said that in like the beginning such a like in like the beginning to solely feel like the part of like solely so like to be part of like a team. Maybe like due to like echo like the beginning that is will be along the lines that Sanjong might have not had a realization kind of level or like thought of such a possibility definitely might couldn't get it. So like right now the current day photo is unfortunately to like Santana that why he couldn't bring just ammo that like wasn't the betrayal that it was that absolute fear they want and that paper right now the something to like find out about that with like the scenario that I'm paper right now telling Sanjana that story about like him being an ex-marine was like fake and like it was his father that was like an ex-marine and like he was like so proud of like his like father and had so much respect for his like father and they believe about that and totally to have they go I'm still sitting to my book myself in like the past myself badly wanted to be a marine and might have even attempted like trying to get a job as like a marine. But like I'm just like you might have not gotten selected, might have been what might have happened. Certainly might have gotten rejected, that might have been what might have happened. So like I'm getting still due to like a good love for like the marine job like and the different like we might have done that tattoo on the like like the marine might have been what might have happened and the different like thing probably confusing all this to like from you right now just like the scenarios that I'm doing. So like at that moment of the realization of it's like that or that rage of like someone was like they go instantly uh like disappearing is like the scenario that is kind of instantly being able to like I'm sitting at that point for kind of probably feeling that no that rage for it for kind of at that point feeling as if like and all being lifted of like kind of steps and basically someone only calming down at that point is like the scenario that I'm doing and someone straight away being able to like forgive their hopes at that point and realizing that so uh, that like they could, it was like they could fear and not they could betray that had happened during like that earlier. So it's like the scenario that I'm so like from that point on, remembering like Sanjon totally coming back to the selection and basically Sanjon totally like seriously deciding to like totally team up with like Deco and seeing like on that realization that Deco like so it was the fear of Deco different that such a scenario where like Sanjon at that point be at that point seeing once again seeing Deco as like team member and basically uh Sanjon will be straight away will be absolutely at that point sitting in his mind to like ensure that like Deco Sanjon gets Deco to like the exit is like the scenario that I'm looking for. That way Sanjon like probably not at all focusing on himself at all. Totally and differently at that point while Sanjon will become back to his senses and become like Sanjon also like straight away think along the lines of like this way that like definitely Sangyeon is not going to like eliminate not even a single person like that. Different like Sang will be like totally fixed in Sangyeon's mind. So like at that point Sangyeon will start feeling that this that like feels strongly that like this is going to be Sangyeon's like last game as Sangyeon it's would be probably getting eliminated in the game like supports the game would be allowed the next Sangyeon would be only 15 minutes like so like I'm looking like Sangyeon only thing that will be so definitely the times he has left like Sangyeon taking the decision to like make sure Sangyeon is okay feeling that they will definitely since that thing is definitely going to get eliminated in those current box to game like Sangyeon will be totally feeling that basically that people like totally in the sport like time and energy right now to like ensure that like they hope manages to that makes it so that if the death survive next year. The along the line to like Sandra will be feeling that point. So definitely my concern is so like that from that point on I'm preferring Sandra totally probably helping out people a lot and like Sandra totally protecting they will come a lot that incoming attack by like the protecting sorry in the like the scenario and I'm looking for the and my particular inspiration yet like I'm different like the scenarios to be like by the time time will be about almost about to be over I'm different to be during that very last few seconds like 10 seconds would be while I'm different scenario to be while 10 seconds along might be a very difficulty at that point that I'm different finally the team of like Sanyon and they will finally be able to like take it to like finding that so like as they hope Sanyon at that point will be telling goodbye to like they go and they hope be in tears at that point of like basically seeing that approach self-respect of like Sanja and everything. They go for the apologization to like Sanja at that point. They would be like running with that absolute effort like they would be straight away running towards like that open that exit door which would be by then other team members would have opened that exit. So like that exit door would be in its like open like state. So that they hope will be totally like function and running towards that exit door and Sanja would be like standing back basically totally with that absolute mindset of like basically feeling accepting of like with like elimination as like time will be about to be over for that point so game. So like as late they will be run towards like exit before they will be making towards like exit them with like one red team number like at that point with the weapon like targeting they and running towards like they passing chance at that point is like the scenario. So like at that point Random like so change stock and random straight away running after that red team member. Lift up like one who will taking after play. And I'm between like that red team member I'm between like totally catching up to it what like they go. And as like that red team member will be about to land it's like weapon attack on like they go under the bank Sanyo totally stopping him. It's like the scenario that I'm stopping him and they're saying like a total struggle between like Sanyo and that red team member. And I'm between during that struggle like I'm between like they hope will be like shocked and they hope will be like static, like seeing that and I'm super that uh, and I'm super definitely without creating at all like during that struggle feeling like Sanjon and that other team member and because like accidentally Sanjon like the hand is in this like control holding the weapon like due to that struggle like like maybe ending up with like Sanjon that hand in it like Sanjon will be holding the weapon accidentally striking me and that way I'm like Sanjon being like the one to accidentally eliminate Dago. Like that's a fine scenario for Antidote. And definitely so definitely my personal theory and prediction right now. Then moving on to definitely for like Dago not surviving that get Sanjon that way, even though accidentally through like the elimination of like Dago, Sanjon survived like the fourth like in this scenario that I'm looking for the fighting and my physical impression. And that accidental elimination of that Dago by so I don't have to happening most likely in that final 1 or 2 seconds. It's like the scenario that I'm looking for the break and very important. Also, so like definitely my person theory interesting right now. So like time to sprint and fill us like then we can die right now chasing after that a random dating number and the sprint without manipulating at all. Time is sprint capturing making it through and capturing that blue team member and at that time to sprint will be about to eliminate that blue team member and the sprint that Thanos is getting attacked by like the Indigo and that from behind with like the scenario that I'm looking like. So like Thanos and like that being that take huge shock for like Thanos is front who won't be at all active. That's the scenario. And like the Indigo and guy like that way attacking Thanos in front and basically causing significant injury and that the different like the Indigo and guy quickly stealing that weapon of like Thanos in front. But like I'm just like during this lateral attack of that 21 guy on Thanos' friend itself, like into the actual situation, resulting in like the that random looting member managing to that get free and escape. That's like scenario that I'm going to go with. Okay, so like definitely my this is very impression right now. That's what like 21 guys try to walk in and like Thanos' friend to like use their weapons together at the same time on that work looting member. Like I'm just that would be totally a trap set for like that kind of strength is definitely my best variant, right? Especially with like that blue team member that having even saying about I can having family him having a wife and a kid like that. Definitely putting like that point is that the Indigo and I maybe might have only fixed in my to like target another blue team member and that definitely that to for and for like the current time being for like the Indigo and I might have also decided to like pair the current random blue team member and also the Indian guy might have also decided instead for like right now to like execute this strategy to like steal like the weapon of that Thanos but might be like what like the mind decision that like the Indian guy has taken right now and to probably that way to that trick that Thanos' friend might be the reason for like the Indian guy right now saying this like strategy as for like for both of them to like use their weapons together. This definitely might be the case with definitely my focus areas. So like I'm the current right now, kind of friend right now, so straight away trusting like the independent guy and as like they would be like swinging like their weapons together like and different like the scenario being like all of a sudden like the as like the kind of friend will be about to land with like weapon onto like that meeting member like right before that like the independent guy like I'm looking at that they last like and like attacking like the scenario that I'm doing. And like definitely at that point, like I'm delivering like that randomly same about this will be like only shop and confused and I was like him at that point like the Indigo guy totally without saying a word like totally walking away after like straight away stealing that weapon of like Thanos' front. It was like the scenario that I'm looking and at that point it was like I'm delivering Thanos' front being like so badly injured and we won't be able to move at that point, like the scenario that I'm looking for. So like at that point, the bundle is running like that blue team member that way getting saved and like that blue team member like I'm looking like struggling with way into that running out of that. So yeah, it's like the scenario that I'm looking for and my getting very interesting. Okay, so like the teenage is very interesting right now. And so like the end going back right now along with that kind of eliminating that blue team member together like so due to that independent guy, things like independent guy so far hasn't betrayed like sign of a friend like under the fun like the actuality my consideration right now and for like the actuality of like the reason for like the independent guy even taking the decision to like team up with like kind of friend might have been solely due to the independent guy not wanting that kind of a friend to get revenge on like the independent guy by targeting certain people definitely my confidence to keep Janti safe from like Thanos in front because like else like when you when I might have fear that is new unlike the other red team members like when it comes to like Thanos front like if while playing the game if like Thanos front ends up seeing like Janti even once regardless of like Janti managing to like escape like Thanos front if he's still targeting and won't giving up until like he finds an eliminate Janti would be along the solely to get revenge on like 21 guys would be along the line of that fear that 21 guys might have had and definitely my consideration. So like to prevent such scenarios from happening, it might be the reason for like when you going deciding to like team up with like stand for like the constant game. Might have been definitely my consideration instruction right now. Okay, so that definitely my consideration instruction right now for like an insult right now. See plan of change and like there are two of those things remain in like plan of change. Differing right now for like insult keeping those two things like together at the same time from that kind of change. That's the scenario that I'm different. And straight away, like instantly, I'm the different scenario. They like so instantly completely losing all of the next year while being in like the middle of this game. On the whole, the game was like the scenario that I'm playing. And at that point, that's the only thing. Mental body turning instantly turning into has been temporarily turning into like has been fearless person. And at that point, like the only thing in like mental might would be to totally to get revenge for that. Again, like Thanos in front for like eliminating that girls who like music whom Black Thanos front had eliminated. Definitely my good reaction. So to get that revenge would be like only thing in like Minto's mind. So like I'm doing from that point on putting like Minto a totally different nature that absolutely fearless and deadly. Minto like Minto would be like Lee was like Minto having also seen currently right now seen even Thanos front like I'm looking at Lee from say right now after like eating those two things like that change like I'm looking like uh but the into targeting front and like chasing after like trusting project vendor of like that area like searching for like specifically targeting and searching for like Thanos front as that like scenario that I was totally so like I'm different while searching for Thanos friend like a putting like into the we are running into multiple into as like a red team member like running into multiple blue team members is like the scenario that I'm different. Yet like I'm different like into for make ignoring all those like blue team members while holding on to like Minto's weapon and like only by only having that just that to that instead and focus and all on like getting revenge on that kind of is like scenario that I'm making. So like that way eventually I'm the current maybe inching only towards like the very end. Also, especially my position with instructions that like the course again and since that currently the current guy that with like current elimination along with like son of front of that routine of accounts that only have elimination. I'm definitely working for like the as like indigoing guy as the son of front like as a team that will be searching for like the next routine number but like eventually I'm the different like when I'm looking them finding like blue team members. But like I'm doing like even at that point like I'm doing as like they then both they would be like actively chasing after like a random blue team member next I'm doing like to like turn that half elimination to a full elimination and so that way to like win the game like I'm doing like that way then running for like the rest of like the game comes when on movement like the team of like kind of front and like the one guys running into uh multiple blue team members like of an arc. But like each and every single time they would be chasing after like those random blue team members like because and like them before they would be able to like make it towards like capture eliminating those blue team members like and even before that like those blue team members getting eliminated by other team members. So like the scenario that I'm looking that way eventually time being short and I'm like so I'm preparing for it to be during that time that I was preparing for like the team of like the one guy and Thanos front. Eventually totally running into like the team of that chosen and like some other civilian candidate and then this is like the scenario that I was the project and my taking over and at that point, I was bringing from seeing Junkie like a friend like quickly acting in like an impulsive manner that without thinking and maybe even ignoring like the fact that I'm currently is that it's working as a team with like the influence like and all that. Only able to see Junkie like about the scenario that I'm playing. Because like at that point, especially with like well the Thanos friend was with Thanos like about like since during then like then had basically note of like Junkie know that even back then, like, and so back then, like, Sami Front had those like extreme that to like get revenge on like the American guy by like probably might have had that as well regards to like some junkie and that way to like get so then that makes like when we went guys back then. So like I'm gonna those winners pick the as like coming back to like kind of from at that point in that person at that point of like the scenario that as looking at Thanos front back totally active compulsively and straight away on to that along with like when the guy like once the Thanos front is already running into that just like the scenario that I'm going. Then so we are running into eventually running into the group of that not something candidate and so and like at that point I'm looking for that uh, at that point I'm looking for that Thanos front straight away that running towards that jungle which is like I'm trying to like eliminate jungle and that right up like Thanos front would be about to land this attack on like jungle number different like chosen that probably trying to like stop and like commitment that can probably injuring children and it's probably being like a struggle. And during the span of the that at that point itself on the different like 20 on the like using the command badly in the front of front and they really that way it's kind of front like probably that which is in the line lying on the floor probably unable to move that's the scenario that I'm looking for. So at that point and at that point I was thinking that Jansi totally straight away against that the individual guy and basically, that at that point, like the three of them, that some of the looking candidates, after like chosen, after like jumping a bit of fear really, and like by then, like I'm looking that belief that they would be getting the feeling that basically that's a pregnant Jansi that stuff boyfriend is like when guys. So like at that point, them three will be totally relieved, but like at that point is when considering also like the unexpected scenario happening for like for not civilian candidate as well as chosen where like I'm considering that like time has well bit only on its short. So like I'm looking at that point that the Indigo guy totally when they will be least expecting it and while doing golden we have some down like I'm doing the Indigo guy eliminating that mother speaking candidate and totally grabbing junkies and that running off with like the scenario that I'm going to go right. And that being such a huge shock for like work children and like children getting extremely impatient, children probably running out of that like the Indigo guy and jumping. So like the scenario setup. And I'm considering maybe for like a scenario where like during this time like I'm considering that the band is injured, Thanos' front would be like lying on the floor, struggling to like get up or even move. And basically at that point I'm looking for like him hearing like footsteps that walking sounds of like footsteps that walking towards us. And at that point that the badly injured Thanos front like basically looking and basically him totally seeing like Minso like standing in front of him. And I'm looking for like him totally that would be like as usual trying to like even so in pain and badly would be in pain like Thanos front still would be trying to and it talk actually usually does towards like Minto. But like I'm assuming it will be a totally different Minto because like by then I'm different the effects of like those two things from like kind of change, which like I'm different Minto with all the feeling will be totally happening and Minto will be that a totally different Minto with like extremely intimidating and serious Minto. So like I'm doing like kind of friend trying to like actually drag with like Minto at that point while struggling on the floor. And Minto totally walking up towards like Thanos front and basically Minso considering the without even saying a single word like Minso like raising just like that while holding the weapon. And I'm looking like at that point Thanos front totally feeling that as with fear and before Thanos front could even say anything or even react like a like Minso totally like eliminating Thanos front and so I'm thinking something like maybe for like the scenario being like right before Minso would be like eventually front would eventually eliminating like stand of this friend, like I'm doing that right before that, like I'm doing that. In the continent of frame, I'm definitely the situation or things now reading that kind of friend of a being attacked by like in between that being so badly injured and like unable to move and lying on the floor and maybe casually talking to that mental as if that kind of while kind of front thing that is like severity and mental and like and while like kind of front like saying but the like actually trying to interact into but like into but like an absolute single space and like but like a totally different body posture as well like basically with an absolute serious space like basically not responding and things like so like at that point is when the maybe Thanos from noticing that chain of Thanos of that Minto wearing that chain that Thanos was front of like Thanos that's like above the scenario that so like at that point I'm looking like Thanos in front like getting shocked and at that point on seeing like Minto wearing like the chain of like Thanos and usually at that point the like Minto straight away without saying a word like eliminated Thanos front. It's like although like another part of the scenario. So it's like I'm basically like how Thanos front usually being eliminated by Minto just make my theory. Okay, so like definitely my very interesting right now as for like the current fight between that children and like that random fight team member. Like I'm definitely putting that the scenario being that children not only for defeating him, but like while at the same time children would be ensuring to not eliminate that fight team member. Also definitely that's the threat. Even though there's no goal as for like the team members uh, not have shouldn't that eliminate certain members that but still children that lead showing that for uh, certainly that won't be that eliminating that certain member but like number different like children that using for like skills and everything the training like number different like children protecting generally as well as like some other student candidate by protecting them like children simultaneously without even any weapon like children with the fighting skills like or for that random team member with like the weapon and still choosing not eliminating yeah like choosing badly injuring him and then other children also stealing to kill weapons as well and definitely chosen will be totally seeing that like they need that weapon as like against to for like chosen to that ensure that increase that the possibility of like being able to like uh, protect like the both like that mother civilian candidate as well as like it's like the scenario that I'm doing. So that way like I'm spending that weapon like falling into like chosen hands in that weapon of that diversity number right now so despite like falling into the hands of like falling into the direction of like chosen to like maintaining the right now. Okay, so like definitely my secondary one question right now. So like closing right now, injuring that with team member, but just on that like I'm struggling so much during that point. Like I'm and that this is only due to like choosing lack of lead while causing that injury, like chosen might have done that while ensuring to do it with such absolute preference so as to like not have like that injury eliminated, get that team member eliminated while simultaneously at the same time ensuring to have that to cause like such a state of injury for like the relative for that team member that like we won't be able to like chase after that. Just like to ensure such to inflict such an injury might be like the reason for like so good lack of the running so much while attacking the black weapon. Might be what might have happened. Definitely might be injury and so like the lead might be very important that tilting on this the new that like through that injury that's like right now caused by surgeon on that right member that lead number the right number not getting eliminated but like I'm different like this in the scenario being that due to that injury like the right number not being able to like move on continue playing like the game and that way that once like time runs out and was being like the game workers themselves alone that would be that actually eliminating that was pretty much just like the scenario, simple scenario that I'm going to say and my person very function. Put it to that, but leave my person very person right for like the old man taking candidate from the building right now, preparing one of the own team number that I'm definitely putting like the scenario right now. This could be that female uh student candidate from that the other state that right now eliminating that blue team number just like the scenario setup. Get like like the reason for like the old man student candidate like him totally not running away from that location because that might be due to that with like intent which might be to like after like that red team member like that woman red team member will be eliminating that one of that like the blue team member of that old man like he will be only planning on like once like after like it will get eliminated and after that red team member will be turning back and at that point to for him to like launch that unexpected ambush attack on that red team member and that way to that will feel weapon through such a manner and that way to like eliminate that red team member might be like the old man's like plan that lead might be famous. So like that's like the scenario that I'm seeing. That way like old man putting candidate from the team of the delivering him totally seeing the weapon as like coming in handy for like the journey in that current to get to uh increase that to get far more weight of protection from the red team of the length the old man swinging the candidate on the meeting is the right now singing. And this is what I'm delivering him right now is also attending to certainly my computer game. And definitely that's happening so also definitely my computer game. So like the old man right now without regulating is eliminating that uh female team member and stealing of weapons is like the scenario that I'm yet like I'm looking like that old man swinging candidates on like the floating the journey in like this games like I'm exactly will be eventually ending the black the for the game itself reflecting into scenario that I'm going to and my consideration. But who just like technique my considering urgent I think for that already that when we going die and that kind of having that stuff like supposed to be that league my considering person as of right now definitely for that without no rate delay at all that then totally when go like they're running into just by your points in left and like they're running into like the group of like chosen and like some of the cooking candidates as well as like jumping like scenario that I was and at that point I'm definitely still looking to my considering for like fan of friend that will be acting that on his own at that point and this weekend totally straight away by himself like totally rushing towards and trying to like straight away quickly trying to like eliminate that junkie at that point like scenario that is right and right before we would be able to like take out junkie and was trying the MgCoin guy and totally eliminating not eliminating but like badly injuring attacking and badly injuring kind of first like the scenario that way the MgCoin guy like totally helping saving junkie like the scenario that I'm so that way like and like maybe for like as like children already have taken a tiny bit of a certain extent of like a injury in children like fight against that red team member like I'm the definitely so that children like I'm the maybe for like scenario the like while like that simply once one of the members are emerging like what they will be running into each other like that kind of kind of like the rushing towards like trying to like, attack and eliminate its junkie. And at that point, maybe Jordan trying to like stop him, but like I'm like at that point, Jordan not being able to like stop him because of that Jordan already being injured. So like that way, like I'm looking like Jordan trying to like stop him, and that it would be at that point that I'm looking like when Jordan guy would be like badly injured in that kind of front, and I'm looking like at that point kind of front like lying on the ground and basically probably being unable to move, and that way like Jordan injury showing up and exactly going up to that area and into eliminating Thanos front. And then I'm going to bring that eventually the scenario that I'm going to bring us for that that way with like the help from the MgCoin die as well. I'm going to bring that definitely like the group of like children jumping as well as like the mother civilian candidate finally doing that the first set of networking I'm going to bring that will be making towards like the exit towards like the main exit to like the scenario that I'm referring. So like at that point, they're all totally being finally being black and that way like the MgCoin guy along with like Johnny as well as children would be like living through like exit door. But like I'm doing like that mother thinking and like not crossing that exit door, like the scenario that I'm doing. So like at that point, uh I'm referring like children you'll be totally like turning back and saying like the Motherfucking candidate like not crossing that exit door. So like I'm referring like at that point children asking what's wrong to like the motherfucking candidate. And at that point, I'm like, she telling Jordan that like she needs to go back, like that she needs to go back and ensure that like some that's like safe will be along the line. I'm looking like for some say would be she has to ensure that her son that basically win reflect to get reflect what to game would be along the line like the not feeling candidates at that point telling so like at that point I'm looking for Jordan selflessly telling the mother Korean candidate that like she'll definitely come along the path to find her son. But like I'm looking definitely at that point that the mother Korean candidate like telling children definitely telling children to like know that children can't come with her that this is something that she should do all by herself. That basically that the mother Korean candidate would be saying that to like children as that even though children repeatedly would be telling the mother Korean candidate that she will come along with her and bring like the mother Korean candidate definitely standing by her stand to like definitely to go all by herself searching for her son. So that's like the good scenario that I'm doing. So like I'm doing by then like children and children maybe being in tears because like children at that point will be that absolutely feeling that strong feeling that definitely once like some of the student candidate will be returning back to not deciding not to cross the exit and like will be returning back into like the game searching for her son. So without especially without children have won't be able to like survive to see that after certain feelings that children we have. So like at that point I was children being getting so emotional and feeling that maybe even tearing up can't not being able to contain some sadness and tears that they really children without saying anything like children that totally proceeding ahead through let's like sit or select the scenarios that I'm doing and like the poor wonderful game candidate like all by herself like they be searching for her son. So then that's again building just like the scenario that I'm looking, and I'm looking that by searching for a song like I'm looking at probably running into a red team member, so like the scenario that I'm looking for, and like I'm looking like after that, like the next thing I'm looking that might be getting shown, like I'm looking to be like the something time almost about to be over, and like that some could get candidate like totally getting extremely stressed out and nervous that like time will be about to set to be over, and both different like different game candidate as well will be definitely things like you will definitely knowing like the number of like such like number like number different like to like that and that time would be passing, and basically time would be almost about to be over, and like he would have definitely paid attention or throughout like the first game to like paying like just carefully listening to like the Subian candidate number that's being brought out as like eliminated and like as like past definitely my injury and pressure. So like that way, like since the home to my consideration, that we're putting that in a book scenario, seeing like some other fully candidate along with like children and then making it to like the exit. But like some other student candidate like deciding to like exit. And the belief that some sort of referring due to like stuff would be like the belief of the student candidate especially would be seriously concerned for like some passing like the fourth student. So like even while making it to that exit like the most game candidate might have listened to that all the announcements of like the skill game candidates that have passed and like that have got eliminated. So like this until that point, like the most game candidate might have not heard the number any announcement about like the number of person to candidates like this now is that so like I'm wondering maybe most likely I'm being more to the possibility as well that being what like basically especially being what like would you ever in like the most game candidate actually taking the decision to like not take that exit and instead return back to the to like ensure some survive, even if it's like at the cost of sacrifice would be along the lines on the industry at that point, like the most Korean candidate might be taking the lead my Korean. So at least that way that decision of like the most Korean candidate will be resulting in like her getting eliminated by some random team is like the scenario that I'm looking for. And then I'm looking like in the case of like the Korean candidate, like I'm looking uh, by then like time will be so would be like so short and then time and I'm looking like time will be so short and I'm looking like at that point like Korean candidate will get extremely so short because like that in that time due to that genuine goodness within like and the kind part of like those Korean candidates he might have even by that all that time like even though he might have had like multiple great number of that blue team members like he might have ran into like multiple great number of that blue team members like he might have not been able to like avoid bringing them to eliminate uh, another person. Certainly what might have be happening until that point is like certainly level brain research. So like I'm throwing time about to almost week or over and I'm looking time that again being this was out and we were like time to almost fully over and some again ended at that point with shouting out for the name of his like mother and calling out for his mother. And I'm looking like things not being able to like find and I'm looking like initially something as time would work about the world like something candidate like totally running into the like not that but like I'm looking that I'm getting that huge shock with like I'm seeing like it's not up eliminated and on the floor like the scenario that I'm looking and I'm looking most likely for like the scenario right now I'm looking it's for like the some candidate at that point definitely doing crazy and like in slowly swinging such a weapon and basically I'd like all the civilian candidates that will be passing that area like separated trying to like complete the game and like that resulting in like some civilian candidate like eliminating a bunch of like civilian candidates from like the red team as well as like the blue team and that way like civilian was also eliminating like, some civilian candidates. It's like doing the scenario that I'm supposed to and that way like the other civilian candidate as well as like the civilian candidate right now being peacefully more to a positive like both like the more civilian candidate as well as the civilian candidate not surviving like the both civilian definitely the same scenario that I'm supposed to and my person today. Okay, so like my very interesting right now is that like that trend of Thanos right now like the person will be having person extreme massive crush on like the MgCoin guy right now. It's definitely my person very interesting. So definitely like soon Thanos friend right now finding out how much like the MgCoin guy now I'm definitely starting that specifically my person very interesting before that the MgCoin guy and Thanos friend right now with our inspired today. So we are running into the work that another speaking and as well as like children as well as channel. And at that point, I'm definitely putting Thanos front, totally lag and trying to like attempting to like in the next channel due to that extreme positive now that like Thanos front right now like the person will be feeling towards like the going guy. So like I mean due to that rating, this outcome to the friend that the plan of friend would be attempting to try to like eliminate junkie so that like we could have like them to and like constant so that that way like due to that specific reason I'm just saying that the particular enough reason I'm thinking would be how the venture attempt by Thanos to that eliminate junkie in like the first to get definitely the injured scenario that I'm definitely perfect and very okay, so that's definitely not very interesting right now. Is for that good realistic period that's happening for like the one guy right now is like the scenario that I'm doing. That way, listening to that the idea of that front and deciding to that eliminate that as many blue team members as they can just for like the one like the scenario that I'm doing. You know, for that them having part like that first game. That's definitely the scenario that I'm so like I'm doing definitely that way that the MgCoin guy as well as like Thanos friends together like going on that absolute elimination rampage with like the scenario that I'm like them like eliminating each and every single one of like the blue team member that they will be running into from that point on the team from that way that like together like the MgCoin guy and Thanos friend like together eliminating a great number of like the both team members like the scenario that like until eventually them running into like the team of like chosen as well as like some other student candidates as well as like the scenario that I was like so that at that point I'm when the coin guy actually would be shocked because that until that point like the MG coin guy will be in might have been in such a realistic kind of like a zoned out kind of like a state with that them literally eliminating that low team members one of another due to that absolute villain, solely due to that absolute villain state. So like I'm going that the next low team member like then for running into the that of that chosen and like the other swimming candidate and Janki like soon Janki like I'm saying the American guys will be shocked at that point. So like at that point I'm going to bring that definitely the Indian guy still I'm with the friend that the Indian guy wouldn't be would but even at that point the Indian guy coming back to his center even at that point of like the scenario setup that creates taking over and corrupting like the Indian guy mind like the scenario that is like that way with the friend like the Indian guy on seeing like the group of like chosen uh, as well as like kind of candidate as well as like at that point I'm with friend like Indian guy literally that at that point and then seeing the command so like at that point the second given that then the guy like literally telling Thanos' friend to like target children while like then the guy would be to stay away from countries and only to like target children and eliminate children while simultaneously like then the guy would and strategy the maybe like then the guy would be telling to that Thanos friend would be that maybe I'm the like then the guy would be telling Thanos from that like but like while like the guard would be down for like the for them to like also act friendly towards like because of the junk is probably like I'm referring like when you go guys having kind of from that like that they will be only having their guard down so that first like when you go guy would be attacking and eliminating that not a single candidate would be like the winner pick plan like when you go guy would be killing kind of his friend and at that point like uh MgCoin guy will be only telling down from that like chosen so they doesn't be getting angry and will be trying to like that the MgCoin guy. So like at that point by chosen will be having stuff focus on like the MgCoin guy for like Thanos friends to like attack and take out chosen. Would be look like Windows take plan like the MgCoin guy at that point telling Thanos friends. So like that way the MgCoin guy as well as Thanos friend like basically while fighting the villains take intent like with that smile like them approaching like the group of like the group of like junkies like some of the civilian candidate and so it was like personality and that way once their guard would be down like I'm like in between guys suddenly all of a sudden like attacking unexpectedly attacking like that and eliminating that one of civilian candidate at that point of that scenario that I was referring and that means that an absolute shock to that Sodom and killing an extremely enraged manner like totally straight away charging towards like an Bitcoin guy to that attack like the Bitcoin guy. So like at that point of self I'm looking that current of Thanos I'm looking that won't be attacking so like scenario that I'm in. That way like the front of Thanos at that point like totally flickering like the Bitcoin guy. And instead like that front of Thanos like while I'm looking the scenario being like at that point choosing like extremely enraged manner like attacking like the Bitcoin guy and the Bitcoin guy struggling against like the strength of children of like the scenario to fight off children of like the scenario that I'm looking. So like during this time, like I'm doing like Thanos is sprung straight away with a skirt and like walking towards like a fair junkie is like the scenario. A shop junkie is like the scenario that I'm doing. Especially because of that attack by that individual guy through that will be eliminated like that on the cooking candidate. It's like the scenario. And at that point of time, especially running that being such an extreme shock to like junkie, especially because of junkie already being whenever aware of like Benji going guy already having passed like the past like the current Fox studio. It's been announced like that as well being a huge factor in that children and their team will be having their guard down. Definitely my question on the time. Definitely during that time, like during that interaction I'm being like 20 guy, that will be like totally telling them that like with front that even though this guy is like fan of front like the people has passed so like there's no correct front as well. And like I'm doing the individual guy even correcting them by saying that he had helped like the individual guy with like set up and everything. So the current course to be another along the lines like the individual guy to the kind of so like I'm looking like during the like and so that attacks from like the individual guy and like the amount of Korean candidate gets eliminated and like Thanos front at that point like tricking like the Indian guy and basically while Soldier will be attacking like the Indian guy, Thanos front straight away charging towards like Jungle to like eliminate Jungle. So like at that point like seeing that like the Indian guy will be getting that sudden front such a front like the Indian guy pushing Soldier away and that will be running after like Thanos front would be like about he would be about to like eliminate Jungle and like the MgCoin guy totally attacking Thanos' front and like he's hindering Thanos' front with like the scenario. Like, so like yeah, like on the like the MgCoin guy at that point will be trying to like eliminate Thanos' front, but before that like chosen that totally attacking the MgCoin guy. It's like the scenario that I'm looking. So like that fight between Chosen and MgCoin guy is happening, and on one side and like on the other side like right there, like Thanos' front will be badly injured and like he'll be struggling to get even more and he'll be lying on the floor. So like seeing all this like and right beside them would be like the eliminator from the Indian candidate. So like seeing all this like I'm something like Junkie probably would be absolutely shocked to the point of like Junkie going up because like all that hope of like Junkie might have definitely been to that basically to somehow manage to like get out of like this game so that like she could live that happy family like with like the going I think take how much she would learn so much so like being like that extreme villains to create and corrupted from the own guy like and the different like that would be totally destroying all that stuff of like Janti to the point of like Janti because he's going enough at that point and Janti totally just casually walking away from that whole scene where like I'm something like children and like Benji and guy would be and that fight to eliminate each other like scenario like so like Janti just walking away from that part of like the scenario that while maybe being like a numb and like zoned out state, they do that as workshop and that as like John he would be like working away like from there like John uh uh um uh, to get candidate from the current team at that point. So they're running towards running into that John at that point and that Syrian candidate that team member totally eliminated John at that point. Like scenario that I'm and in that fight between like Chosen and like the Indian guy, I'm just I think that fight like Chosen eventually started after like the Indian guy and like Chosen eliminating the Indian guy. So it's like scenario that I'm moving by. So like the possible scenarios that I'm all about right now and my procedure is it also like making my consideration right now as for like during like the both game section if I have to go to the like I'm current facility or like the scenario right now I'm looking to be like some other civilian candidates as well as like children as well. Definitely won't be able to like leave like junkie at all right now, especially with like junkie both of you but like not even children would be able to like leave the like scenario. Leave junkie like the scenario that I'm different. So definitely the scenario that I'm talking about for like children totally telling like the most student candidate to like take care of like the pregnancy of like junkies and that like children will stand there and guard the protect them with like the scenario that I'm doing that way like then the three of them not leaving that road at all and like I was like the amount of student candidate probably helping doing her absolute best with like doing her absolute best that she can do with the amount of student candidate like totally like eventually struggling her way into like eventually actually succeeding in like basically uh, in delivering young like the scenario that I'm also correct. So that was like the child being a boy, like the scenario that I'm also but like I'm saying why the whole process would be happening like I'm that. multiple red team members would be entering that role, and I'm generally the time on the right is being that what children that would be like trying to like fight them off, and they see during that with like multiple red team members that showing up in the book usually children take a lot of injuries, and like injuries that of children like fighting up to like the point where like I'm moving that eventually after some point of the children getting dropped down and getting forward by the red team members, and like red team members that way eventually eliminating children just like the scenario that I'm doing. So like children until like the very last until the very last like giving it a absolute everything to protect like jungle and the shooting candidate is like the scenario that like so like that way, and that way I'm considering like the elimination of like children finally happening while like that time of like the first game will be almost about 3 hours of like the scenario that is the scenario. So that itself would be like an absolute shock to like the shooting candidate whom by then would have delivered like the baby of like country to like the scenario that I'm looking at. And I'm also predicting like the Syrian candidate getting kind of shocked without necessarily delays like the scenario that I'm looking at. So like at that point itself like Janti would be like after doing both like like Janti, especially because of like the situation like last we gave birth and everything like definitely uh Janti would be like badly feeling unwell at that point of like the scenario that I'm looking for. So like at that point I was looking at and a red team number as like like maybe as like 10 seconds alone would be like the remaining for like that team to do like the work to be over. So when I was looking kind of the red team number entering that room if like the scenario that I was looking at, seeing like the bad day exhausted that Janti and Janti's baby as well as like some of shooting candidates that like the scenario that I'm looking. So like at that point like I'm putting like some of the shooting candidate like straight away getting up and basically standing in front of him. That's what team member and finishing to like shouting at him that that he can't, that she won't let him, that she won't let him go up to like neither of them or her face like open out like I'm doing that way like I'm doing while 10 seconds to be the remaining of the spring like was the number sibling candidate like getting eliminated solely to like protect like Johnson and Daily. But like I'm looking like by then like the repeated shot for like Johnny and those things being screened to that point where like I'm looking like on top of like Johnny that person like I'm looking at that point that by the time like the first would be end of the over that very last second itself I'm looking at after like the number sibling candidate that they would be getting eliminated to like stage Johnson still I'm looking like Johnson is like succumbing to all that exhaustion and Johnny has been getting eliminated at that point due to like the stage exhaustion like scenario that I'm looking at. So like I'm looking for in that way once like Janvi will be getting eliminated after giving birth, like I'm looking like the announcement happening for like the number of like Janvi getting eliminated. So like at that point like being first an absolute shock to like because the scenario that him totally that being crazy and I'm looking like him totally that shot like him totally running all over like that him totally running off on the phone from like that um front of Thanos and like him frantically kind of crazy by screaming like something all over like the that play area of the first game and I'm making to be during the flat time that like during the separation of like them when like from like the front of Thanos that ever like insult would be like eliminating on the Thanos so like the scenario so like that way like in between guy to be frantically something all along like that for to gameplay area and to be like in between like in between like finding uh, like finding that the eliminated junkie along with like the eliminated number of killing candidate as well as like an eliminated source as well beside us with like the scenario that I was for. So at that point I was like in between shocking realizing about like junkie having given birth. So like at that point like I'm doing like when guy getting extremely angry and enraged and I'm looking like then we're like shouting out to that civilian of the school would be uh what about like basically that then you're like demanding for the like theory that you want to see this video and we want to see that video. Can be from like when different guys will be shouting at like the stadium but like I'm doing at that point the stadium of like not that telling the in guy that pointing the weapon at the then guy and telling him to like stop and they'll be telling him that and telling the Indian guy that like if like Indian guy wants to baby, yeah, wants to see his baby, wants to have baby, then he will have to like compete and win on that all the way to that specific game. If like then Indian guy wants to play this will be alone, but I won't even see this like baby. So it's like saying the Funari. That way like I'm doing that quite the road. If you are coming back to like look again in the home at that point like then Indian guy will be extremely enraged and frustrated. It's like the Funari that I'm looking for. And definitely that the shock of like losing journey as well, like experiments and everything that as the disturbance would be present very much alive within like when the guy is like the scenario kind of living, and that what they were setting in like then the guy straight away walking up to Sandhya, and like then the guy like telling Sandhya that like that they have to like stop another thing like the winter scenario that I'm talking about. And that as well I'm remembering another thing in like the uh, that I'm remembering like the thing in like maybe I'm different by then like I'm different and I'm specifically my very ambition for like Sanjon eventually like supposed to be finding Teho and not at all attacking Teho, but like I'm different like Sanjon Teho would be like confessing to like Sanjon about why he couldn't bring back couldn't get the rebellion and all that like an army that I'm doing. So like that way and only at that point someone realizing that it was Teto's extreme fear and watching that Teto's betrayal that someone realizing all that only at that point and Sanjon okay, deciding to that make up for uh, satisfaction data of at that point with like the scenario that I was doing. And that way that even though and I was fulfilling my victory impression that like Sanjon almost getting state towards like the exit, but like right as like the time would be about to over and Sanjon would only feeling that like they was like about to survive in the first billion and San as like Sanjon was putting that like he's going to get eliminated at that point like another team member like trying to like attack their hope and that was collision between like fight between like Sanjon and that team member resulting in like Sanjon I think is eliminated they will be standing in so by like the scenario that so like at that point, like Sanjon, that stock of that person day as well. I'm remembering that Sanjon as well. After like the first billion, so once like Sanjon will then like 11 billion into that room. At that point, on the different Sanjon as well, will be like trophy in such an extremely stable state. So like I'm looking at that point, at like when we going die, so they're telling Sanjon that like have to like start another. So then that point after like Sanjon as well, totally deciding to that not give up at this point. Like Sanjana felt really feeling that he at this point, like Sanjana has absolutely nothing to do anymore. So like Sanjana, Jamde as well as like Tepo as well. And maybe Sanjana at that point was totally feeling has absolutely nothing to do anymore. Uh, just like another rebellion, and that way like considering like Sanjana and like you going like totally planning another rebellion, especially like in the scenario. Like I know the topic and that's very so at that point, also the point that Sanjana goal to define that rebellion once again still remaining the same as celebrities to put an end to like the civilians and like catch up like the frontman and all that like usually while in the case of like Deho in the case of like Bendigo and I am like this sword hidden behind like the rebellion would be to that to save with like child it's definitely my very much. Okay, so like definitely my person in position right now as well like badly injured like low pay number right now in a corner situation in front of like some football candidate still together my person ambition that like that as would not pretend that the Canadian candidate would want to be offering like some Canadian candidate to not be a like bringing himself to eliminate that blue team member with like the scenario that I was okay, so that definitely my very impression right now that that blue team members are attacked against like some Indian candidate like and looking definitely right now I'm definitely protecting the black that blue team member to totally or for like some Indian candidate and then considering that the scenario being like as like that blue team member will be about to eliminate next for some Indian candidate to be raised in the select weapon and will be about to eliminate like, some Indian candidate like at that very last second that blue team member getting eliminated by another red team member just like the scenario that I'm looking for the and my very interesting. Okay, so like definitely my consideration right now with that the fundamental staring curiously into the screen as like Sanjan right now watching towards like the big German boom like definitely putting that imposer right now that's really hoping for that moment for like it's like because you're looking forward to and you're just trying to like witness Sanjan for Sanjan's own survival eliminating another candidate and basically that way Sanjan by himself like destroying his own ideology like basically definitely is like the opposite of that impose that ideology impose the desperate desiring for that validation that like info what's right all along by having Sangyong corrupt himself and destroy his own ideology. So like this is the reason for like info right now like so he's there like that absolutely staring at like screen as like Sangyong right now walks towards like the fake shaman but like I'm right now Sanjong even giving attention to like the fake shaman movement right now. It is only because that's one thing in there. Because like Sanjong right now, what Sanjong, I'm the different Sanjong right now, not attacking, not at all attacking like that shaman weapon. But like I'm looking like the scenario to see like Sandon right now slowly walking towards like that shaman like holding on to his weapon. And like I'm looking like initially like Sandon be walking towards her like up slowly talking still continuing on her own ways of like talking towards like Sanjo. And basically like the more Sanjo will be getting closer, walking towards like I'm looking like her root ways of talking, turning into that absolute fear and able to bring them up like the pitch move on like at that point like taking for like Sanjo to stare up and maybe even holding Sanjo like it's also like in the scenario that able to bring. And this might be to instill to totally destroy that absolute over ego and like overconfidence like that like fake shaman will be the only intent behind like Sanyo right now feeling attention, even bothering to like give attention to like the fake shaman moment while the naturally like the only variety of Sanyo will be taken alone. So like I'm believing that would be for reason for like Sanyo even right now even bother to like give attention to like the fake shaman one. So like this is like the scenario that I was like the fake shaman one like finally like letting go of ego and like excessive ego and like both together and everything and like totally being consumed by that fear and like totally begging to like Sanjeon to like not eliminate just like scenario that I was. And at that point Sanjeon unbelievable like would be dealing out with that keyboard and basically Sanjeon at that point without saying a word like at that point walking away from the scenario that I was without recovering and my person and at that point like Shinho the frontman in home at that point might have been would be totally expecting that Samyon to like totally destroy his own ideologies and like eliminate like the fake shaman movement. Like at that point, like all of that focus was like in hope is probably getting once again destroyed by Sanjay, like the scenario. And then probably it down to be really extremely frustrated doing that. Just like the scenario that I was expecting and immediately yes, so like the interesting right now and was great challenge right now finally feeling so related with laptop feeling after that thing after that we from that final exit or like definitely preparing right now for that definitely indeed having also having a keyboard and that keyboard won't be black knight of the triangle shape nor circle shape nor square shape keyboard but like I'm looking that keyboard being star shape keyboard. It's definitely my taking the range and right now I'm going to bring that among like the blue team members that can be that made for like the scenario being that being only one among like the when like the in that case like the voting number of like language maybe only one person might have like the star shape people. It's like the possibility that is right now. So like I'm looking like even the like the page right now being so happy and really like finally finding what she believes is like the job right now it's a conversation that have taken like the biggest job like that it's having the moment she finds that it's having like a star shaped keyboard reflecting the scenario that is associated with moving at my personal theory.